I want you to think about your clients, the ones that you have that are serious about how they feel, about their physicality, about their health. I'm talking about the ones who golf, who work out, who are up early and intentional about their health. They're already spending money on recovery, the gym memberships, the equipment, the coaches. Steam and sauna at home is a natural next step for this clientele. And you are the designer who can bring that option to them with a clear reason and a complete specification ready to go. If you can do this, you're the designer that becomes indispensable. Mr. Steam has a guide called the Performance and Recovery Guide that explains what steam and sauna do for the body, for muscle recovery, circulation, better rest, and it's in language that clients can understand and respond to. You can get it for free at luannigara.com/Mr. Steam. Start understanding what your clients want and expect and how you can be part of that solution for them. That's luannigara.com/Mr. Steam for your free guide. Welcome to A Well-Designed Business. My name is Luann Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company Window Works from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. Today is a fun episode for me because I get to talk with Jason Saft. Jason and I are friends in real life. We have been at RisaCon together, and he will be back this summer, 2026 in Las Vegas. RisaCon is a conference for professional stagers, and it is a not-miss conference. We will link it in the show notes. Jason has also been through my Chairman of the Board program, which is my year-long coaching program. So I cannot tell you how happy I am to have him with me here today. If you're in the home staging industry, you know Jason. If not, keep listening because you should. Jason is the founder and CEO of Stage to Sell Home, one of the most sought after luxury staging firms in New York City. But calling him a stager doesn't quite capture what he does. Jason stages multiple million-dollar properties in New York City. Think Fifth Avenue apartments, historic townhouses. These are properties that are often been on the market for years without selling. And then he comes in, him and his team, they do their magic and they move in just weeks and often in days. So today we're winding it all the way back. How he built his business, how he operates under the kind of pressure that would break most people. And I have to tell you, I have seen it firsthand. And why some of his boundaries are absolutely non-negotiable, while others flex depending on the situation. This is your fly on the wall moment behind the scenes of a business that operates at the highest level of the staging industry. And for you, my interior designer listening, don't tune out. Everything Jason talks about applies to you as well. Pay close attention to how he talks about data-driven design decisions, creating repeatable systems, building a team that can execute your visions when you're not in the room. If you've ever wondered what separates those at the top from everyone else, you're about to find out. Now, before I introduce Jason to you, I want to talk about our sponsor for this episode, Mr. Steam. The bathroom has always been about starting the day and ending the day. But what we're seeing, and the data is confirming, is that your clients are investing at the highest levels right now in the bathroom, and they are thinking about the bathroom differently. They want a space that supports how they train, how they recover, how they sleep. Steam and sauna are central to this. Mr. Steam is the only brand that has spent more than 100 years focused entirely on steam. And they've built everything you need to bring that conversation to your client confidently. Start with their performance and recovery guide at luannigara.com/Mr. Steam. Go ahead, download it, share it, hand it off, talk about it at your next presentation, and I'll bet you see your ROI increasing with providing your clients with an elevated experience in their bathroom. That's luannigara.com/Mr. Steam. Okay, let's talk to Jason. It's so funny. I just want to start giggling. Hi, Jason.
Hi, Luann.
Welcome to A Well-Designed Business, my friends.
Good to see you. Happy to be here.
That's so funny
knee deep
that
in laughter. I know. It's like,
I just feel like, oh my God, all the times we've talked, all the water under the bridge, all the things that we've done together. And I'm like, oh my God, we're doing this thing.
I know. I feel like we're that scene in When Harry Met Sally where they're like, I'll have what she's having.
Exactly. Okay. So here's the thing. Today we're going to talk about staging. And I just feel like we're so lucky because I don't care if you're an interior designer, you're a stager, you're a business coach, you're a window treatment professional. There is this moment where things click and you get your value. There's that moment. And some people are lucky enough to start square one with that and they hold their line, and other people evolve and understand it and start to look in the mirror and go, hey, I'm good at this thing and I can do this. But I think the biggest thing that I'm excited about to have you on the show, Jason, is knowing you as well as I know you. I know like you are the it guy in this industry, one of two or three that really sit at the top of the staging industry. And I know when you are dealing with your clients and your potential clients, and it's tough because you're dealing with New York City, like brokers and developers, like hardcore negotiators. And I know you just shared a story off air where you just stood your ground. But I also know that part of you is like, I remember when it wasn't like this. I remember when it was hard. I remember when I was scared to death. And none of us can see that in you,
Yeah, no, those days of, saying yes to every single thing so that one day you can get to a point to say no,
Yeah.
and for reasons, right? And for not just pride, but understanding like your own boundaries, your own value, what you've brought to something. And that's definitely something I've really fixated on is understanding the value that I'm bringing, the value of my worth, the value of my team, our inventory, what it does, and how to, look, a lot of times we have to stand our ground, and that I will say that my almost 20 years as a real estate agent really helped me with that because
Yeah.
one of the conversations that every real estate agent has to have all the time is why should I pay you? 5%, 6% to just open the door and walk
As
people
if that's all
around
you're
my
doing,
house. Right.
right?
It's just a very simplified sort of
It's like fluff pillows. Why should I
way.
pay you to
And
design my house? All you do is fluff
exactly.
pillows, right?
And so, this business that I built, Sage Sell Home, was my answer to that question. Like it came up so frequently that I came to understand like they're asking this for a reason. Like they're saying if I'm going to pay you 150,000, 1,000, whatever it is, they want to know what they're getting for it. And I remember those early days of being on pitches and then knowing other agents pitches and firms pitches, and everyone comes with the same, the deck may look different, have different colors, different pictures, different closed sales, but at the end of the day the contents were the same.
Yeah.
And I remember those moments of saying, like, look, we're all telling you the same thing, but here's what I do differently. Everyone could say, well, my firm, and I'm going to photograph it, and I'm going to do an open house, and I'm going to do this, but like, let me physically show you what I will do in your home to increase the value for you, to position your home in the best possible light. And it worked. It took a long time to
Mm.
figure it out and what the right things were, but that understanding that you do have to explain what your value is and why someone is spending this amount of money. And it's a lot of money.
Yes. Yeah.
It is really significant. And there are some markets where the home sells without being listed, right? And so I understand someone's concern of, tell me why you're worth this. And so with the business now, I've taken all of that as to let them know almost beforehand. The truth is, I constantly put that information out and our metrics and what we do to not have that conversation.
Right. Yeah, I would say like I can't tell you in the last 3, 4, 5 years, whatever it is that I've gotten to know you, I can't tell you the number of designers I've said, go get on Jason's email list. Like just go because you now for a designer it's different for a stager, and when I meet stagers I'm definitely like I just was in Kansas City last spring, last September I mean, and I met a stager there and I was like, no, 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 girl, you got to be on his email list. Like I'm telling you, this is a business coaching thing once a month. And the reason is because just what you said, Jason, your emails, you're very data driven. And I love that about you because, the designers that I work with and I've coached with on one and even on just casual conversations, I'm constantly saying the line, based on my experience. When somebody questions you or somebody wants to know why you do a thing, the line is based on my experience. But when you back that on my experience statement with the data that of what the projects do, then it's undeniable. And you do a great job. See, with design and decoration for someone to live in it, we're those designers are designing for mood, vibe, fulfillment, satisfaction. When you stage a house, that's not what you're doing at all.
Well,
You're
it's funny. It is, right? Like we're trying to create all of that to for this emotional feeling, right? Like
right,
they're not just buying the house, they're buying this idea of, how am I going to feel in it? How am I going to live? It's sort
right.
of like, some of those car commercials, right? Where it's like the guy's behind the wheel and there's a gorgeous lady by his side. It's like, you buy this car and you're
And
going
I
to have a
get
beautiful
that
woman,
lady.
right? It turns out the actor's gay, right? Like, it's an illusion. But with designers, I've had this conversation. A lot of them have said, well, yeah, but I don't have those metrics. And I was like, of course you do. Like, they may not be numbers. They may not be, um, before he came in, the home was on the market for 778 days, and then it sold in 3 weeks. Like, that's fine.
Right.
But your metric is, is that quote, for the first time ever, we had the Thanksgiving dinner I always wanted.
Yeah.
When I come home, I feel something I have never experienced before.
Right.
My kids have the playroom that I wish when I was growing up. I've worked to this point. So I always tell people, it's like someone will say, "Well, you have this and I don't." It's like, no, no, no. We all have it, but it's up to us to understand, like, what is that version, what is that information that you have to then figure out, how do you communicate, right? So it's
Right.
like, I have a deck of, we send like 200 plus pages, and I would say probably 180 of those pages are closed sales metrics. And that is our way to generate business. That is the way to, when the times where we do need to speak to the client, we're not debating the value. We're not negotiating the
Right.
price. We're maybe getting into the minutia or something else, because they've come and said, I've looked at three proposals. This is the only one that has this data. And
The supporting
your cost
documents.
is here, theirs is there. I understand the difference in it. And so that's where, for a designer to take that information and then put that into their own deck of work, right? To
Right.
take those quotes to, something I've had my team focus on is getting those Google's reviews for people
Yes.
who just go online and, search, and they see, like, wait, these people have like 50, 60 reviews, which for us is a lot, for others may be small, but the people that we've worked with, they get into the minutia. They get
Yes.
into explaining it so that I don't have to, have this moment with a potential client. I can just talk about how excited I am to work on the project and how this is the kind of thing we just dig our teeth into. And we had a success recently, very similar. And I find it's just a different dynamic.
Mm, yeah, because there is a quiet, elegant confidence in knowing that you know what you're doing and you have the proof and the evidence that it's not a figment of your imagination, right? And I think that's what I've always noticed about you is that black and white when I stage a home, and we're not talking about, $300,000 homes. We're talking about multiple million into the five-figure millions. You know what I'm saying? Like you are at a level and it's like, it's just this look, I'm the guy who can do this for you. Like I have 50 places in Manhattan that were on the market for more than 300 days that all once I staged sold in 3 weeks. Or I love the one example that you gave one time, which was you one time there was a unit in an apartment, and if I say the story wrong, correct me, where it didn't necessarily sell faster or for more money. It didn't do both. I think it didn't do faster and more, because usually yours are faster and for more money.
Right.
But this particular one was only one or the other, as I recall. But it was like, say it was a C unit. And so instead of just saying faster and more money, you were like, of all the last sales of C units in this building in the last 13 months, this one sold over or faster than other
Correct.
C's,
Yeah.
right? Right? Because they, like, to your point, that analogy or that example that you gave was when you were talking to us about there's always something you can find to show your value to what you were just
There's
saying.
always a data point. There's always a way
Yeah.
to truly put it in front of people so that they understand it in a concrete way.
Yeah. Yeah. And that I thought was so telling because it's like, all right, so there's a 20-story building and there's 20 C units and yeah, like this is the guy. So, for to your point for designers, you know, maybe the data points aren't dollar bills like the way they are for staging or days on the market the way they are for staging, but there are those, like you said, the Google reviews. If you're one of five designers in, Charleston, do you have three and somebody has 33? And it's not like you're going to hang your shingle and run an Instagram ad that says I have 33, but in that moment or in that pitch deck or whatever it is, it's like, and I'd love you to encourage you to check out, it's like me, my podcast. It has like more than 785 reviews. There's no podcaster in our industry that comes anywhere close to that many reviews.
Right.
There could be somebody that has 30 reviews and every one is a 5-star and I love you, but there's nobody that has moved 785 people to go and do a thing. And that's a thing. And so your point is look for the data point that relates to you,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but here's the thing, too. What I also know is that, and I have tried to describe this to our members at Exciting Windows. That's the business that we run where we coach and mentor window treatment professionals when they are leveling up from the mid market to the luxury market, because WindowWorks swam in the luxury market and does continue to swim in the luxury market. And me working, 35 plus years with interior designers, it's like what I always say to them is, yeah, you want to be here. The dollar bills are here. The profits are better. The jobs are better. The work is more enjoyable, but you are showing up and you are saying yes and yes and what can I do for you? Yes, and how do you want that done? You stick to your price. And what's so funny is you are one of the few people that I've met that has that foot on the gas and on the brake, like, right? Because what it is think about
It's
the nuance when
bipolar
you
disorder.
yeah, you lunatic. But when you think about what you're trying to say to somebody, in the same sentence, you're saying, don't come off of your value. Don't negotiate your value away. And at the same time, you're saying, say yes, do what you have to do, show up, get your team there at midnight if that's what they wanted. But
They
it,
won't be there. I will be.
right? But you know what I'm saying? It's like that constant nuance of what is giving away too much. And for me, my thing is I'm making my money and I am working with a luxury consumer and I am getting good dollar bills for that based on what I know is good dollar bills. Then I will show up for you and do whatever I need to do. But
Yeah,
if you are going to nickel and dime me and I get 20% off on Hunter Douglas from this company, then don't expect me to change my install date for you because your paper hanger didn't show up. Stop.
right.
Okay. So it's a talk about that nuance because it isn't when we look at you on Instagram, which your Instagram is beyond comprehension. It's just so good.
Thank you.
Yeah, you and Corey Damon, you're my two
Wow.
heroes
All
on
right.
Instagram.
It's
Yeah.
quite the company I'm
No,
in.
but it's true because you both I think even if I didn't know you both personally, I know what your secret sauce on Instagram is that you both actually show up.
And we're
You
sassy. That's
Yes,
our
yes,
sassy sauce.
yes.
That's our
But you
Corey
talk
Damon Jenkins, the
but
sassy
you
sauce.
talk like you
Yeah,
actually
it's
come and
me.
tell
Like,
your stories. You're
yeah,
not like, oh, my social team wrote it and I approved it.
there is no.
And that's an insane level of
That's because there's no
dedication.
team.
No, and the same with Corey. He does. I mean, I don't know if he actually does the posting, but he does the writing like you do. I know you do everything. You're
Yeah, no,
unicorn.
I
Yeah,
enjoy it. I really like for me it's a place to like creative output and to just I've figured out a lot through putting it out there.
it's
But
like
to
your novel. You know that. I
yeah,
always look
I've
at. It, I'm like,
been
this is
sort
his
of
novel. If he could,
that's how
if he
I've
could pull all of these posts together one day, this would be the book of Jason Saft. You
someday
know,
read by three people.
right?
Um yeah,
But
but
talk about that because
I,
on Instagram it looks like glamorous projects, high dollar bills, but your pressure is great there. You are delivering and you are doing things
yeah, I mean
that
the
are
pace
not normal.
would kill a lot of people, but I have to say it's like I'm conditioned for it at this point. I mean, I started in real estate 22 years ago, and so everyone wants everything done yesterday. We repeat the same vicious cycle like, oh my God, it's spring mart. We gotta, like, we know. It's like, this is like our 20th season.
Spring,
Sometimes I'm
we
on the
know.
phone with someone. I'm like, yeah, we know, like, come on, we've been through this. Like,
We
why are
know
we
when
acting like
buyer's
this is
market
the
is
first?
happening
Yeah,
in 20 seconds.
like we know what's gonna happen.
And we know everybody's leaving the city in another 2 months and we have 2 months to do this, right?
It's funny though. I do sort of say now, like I spent the last 20 years saying yes to everything so I could finally start to say no. But while I try not to go negotiate a lot because that is the difference of not to like sidetrack this, but like of taking care of your employees, hiring that extra person,
Yeah,
investing in your inventory, like you start to realize that there are a lot of times where I absolutely will negotiate because there is a value in association and I know that if I put in the work to leverage that project will propel
yeah.
me and bring in others where I won't have to negotiate. And
It's
so,
yes for reasons,
yes,
not
for
yes
reasons.
because I can't say no. I don't
And
know how to say no.
I think it's really important when you're running your own business to understand and figure out what are those times and what are those projects
Yes,
to say, let's make a deal.
that's right.
As an example, we just did this past December the largest townhouse in downtown New York, 105, 107 Bank Street. Two townhouses fused together.
Crazy.
Um, it never came to market. They were going to list it for $75 million. Dollars. We did the whole house over between like December, January, photographed it. They decided the agent very shrewdly, it's sort of like he really believed in let's keep this as a whisper listing, an off market. And if we need to, we'll launch in the spring when it's just,
Right.
this week we started with spring where the trees have bloomed, people are happy, no one like looks like, there's less fighting on the street, there's people eating outside, it just the vibe in the
Like,
city is different.
yeah, happy New
And
York again.
and I will say I was kind of like he's out of his mind. Like who keeps a $75 million Whisper, it's just not the kind of property, but he was right. It really was like there was so much value in going to the right people. Here it is, if you
I
want
got
to,
a
and everyone knew, and
backroom deal
so
for you. You're in on it.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so the Wall Street Journal reported on it, so I can talk about it now. But the house is in contract. It's over $70 million. They're within, like, 1%, I think, of their asking price.
Wow.
Um, and that was a project, to be honest. The developer came to me and said, "We have three proposals. Yours is the most expensive. Like, I want to work with you. I've seen your work. I've five or six different agents that all said, like, you have to work with Jason Saft and Sage Sell Home." Um, and I said, "Let's make a deal, right?" Because I know that even if I'm not mentioned in the press, because like listing press doesn't get into who stayed, there's like
Yeah.
the credits are essentially, the architect, the developer, the agent who has the listing, and they have to credit the photographer because they're, the paper's no longer. So those are the only people that get credit. But I've learned like there are ways to leverage that exposure and press. And so I just said, fine, I will
Yeah.
do it. I will absolutely discount this project to get it, to have that association with it.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
it those are the cases that I think are really important to take on. And sometimes there's projects where um someone needs help, like, and they can't
Yes.
necessarily afford everything, and you want to just do
Hmm.
something
Hmm.
for someone who needs to get, they're stuck somewhere, or
Yeah.
someone's gotten unbelievably ill, and it's like you just, we're human beings, right? And
Yeah.
it's like I
Yeah.
have the inventory, I have the resources, I can take on that project and take a hit and then overcharge someone who has money. That's, it's the
Well,
Robin
it's
the
fun.
Robin Hood theory of client retention.
You're funny. But what's funny is, we just mentioned Corey a few moments ago, and it's this as we're talking, it's spring 2026. In fall of 2025, I actually did a one-on-one with him at Eichholtz at Fall Market at
Hmm.
October at High Point. And it's funny, to your point, somebody in the audience said to Corey when it was time for Q&A, so, hey, Corey, when did you get to the point in your business where no matter what the situation, if it's not a great deal or whatever the language, the wording was, where you just flat say no all the time? And he just looked at me and then he looked at the audience and he went, I'll let you know when I get there. And it was so perfectly good. And this is why I love conversations with you as well as Corey, and others of your status, because you he had enough confidence in himself to look at 200 designers and say, yeah, I still will take a job when I'm looking at a pipeline and my people aren't all busy. The lights have to stay on, the payroll has to get met. Now, am I going to take 10 of those jobs out of 12? No. But am I going to? And I'm telling you, the audience literally went, like they were shocked, because in your mind you imagine you get to a point and anything that's quote unquote too small or not prestigious enough or blah blah blah, you say no to. And I know that with WindowWorks, it's pushing 5 million gross sales. And if the lady down the block is like, I just need one blind for my laundry room, we're going to pick up and go. You know what I mean?
Totally, especially,
You,
look, I think it's important, and so many people touch upon this on the podcast, is you may have an incredible pipeline, but it may be 18 months out,
yeah,
24 months, 36 months out.
yeah,
And so it's like what fills that immediacy, because again, it's, there's so much overhead, and
yes.
I never want to hire people and then say, like, oh, it's June and we're quiet, so thank you so much, take care,
See you
you
back
know.
in September when we're busy
Right,
again
and
or
then it's like,
whatever.
and then in August we're training someone new. I don't want to do that. I want to figure out ways to make things work. And I often tell people, I can make this work now. I
Yeah,
can play Let's Make a Deal.
yeah,
I believe that the more transparent you are with the why and the
yeah,
how, and offering
yes,
something that maybe you can't, prevents the future conflict of someone coming to you and saying, I don't understand. You gave me a proposal for practically the exact same thing 3 months ago, and it was, 20% less. And like I told my client, your cost is this. And that's again, that's one of those experiences that it happens and you learn from it, right? Like, oh, I didn't explain to someone I discounted this so heavily
Right.
because it's um, June 20th
And we're ready
and
to have everybody
every
head to the Hamptons for the summer.
and no one's doing business
Yeah.
until the middle of August planning
Yeah.
for fall.
Yeah.
um that's one of those things that you have to realize, like, let me let them know why. Let me not just tell them, but let me put it in print. Let
Yeah.
me put it on the proposal as well, like June discount 20% applicable
Right.
only.
You call me in August, it's full rate because my phone's on fire in August. And it's
Yeah,
funny because that's like what I say to everybody when I'm teaching, coaching, mentoring them is like, you can make whatever deal you want when you know the reason for it. Like, you know why you're doing it, right? Like for you, it's June, you got to keep the lights on, you got overhead, and somebody's willing to do it. Okay. But the second part is, I always say, don't ever give anybody anything without telling them that you're giving it to them.
oh,
You
I
don't
meant
need to,
yeah.
yeah. And you don't need to be like, I'm giving you this. It's like there's a professional way to do what you just said. In June, basically this is inside voice. In June, we cut deals. We got to stay alive. In August, we're too busy. You know what I'm saying? You
Yeah,
find the professional way to say it because it is true. And it's funny. Kate O'Hara runs a big design firm. Same thing. She said, Lou, yeah, do we put out on our website, call us for one bedroom? She goes, absolutely not. She said, but if I'm in an inquiry call and somehow somebody found us and they don't get that we do full houses, if they're a good human and I've got a set of designers without a project immediately, and I'm like, oh,
absolutely.
their
Yeah.
next project is going to start in August. It's May. We can get in and get out and do this bedroom and pick up 20K. Let's go. You
Yeah,
know?
getting granular on your pipeline is just so
Yes.
important to understand when you can make those work and when you have to say no to them. When,
Right.
and this is where, it's funny, I'm having dinner tonight with the two founders of another staging firm who are like one of my biggest competitors, but they're taking me out to dinner to thank me for referring them like 8 to 10 projects. And that's where, again, it's like having these ties to other people in the community and also like
Yes.
your colleagues and in theory your competition, right? Like if you can't take something, don't you want to put someone in someone else's capable hands
Yes.
and just have a much better environment? So
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I think that's a really smart thing in understanding those nuances of when to communicate it, how to communicate it, make sure that they know. It's almost like repeat after me.
Yeah.
This is a June discount. Okay, June discount.
Did I say June?
Yes. And then, referring out what doesn't work. And I learned that there's two people at Compass, Leonard Steinberg and Gordon Golub, who taught me, instead of trying to take on everything and taking on the projects you don't want and saying yes to the things that are out of your wheelhouse or whatever, or too far for you. And that was like something I did as a real estate agent when I just had to take on anything.
Yeah.
But now I realize like that's going to pull me out of my core. That's going to pull me out of my 5-star clients. That's going to pull me out of this premier project. I need to just refer it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. 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 And that's the thing. And that clarity doesn't come in the moment. That clarity is like when I tell everybody, sit and think about your mission, vision, values. Like you have to get that clarity first. What are my ideal projects? What will I do? And if it's a less than ideal project, what are the parameters in which I will accept it? And here's the one thing: the parameter is never because I don't have the heart, the courage to say no. like it's the parameter has to be, I can say yes to this under these conditions, or I'm going to say no to this because of these conditions. And that makes sense for my business, not just because I'm in the moment reacting. There has to be a strategy behind it, is what I think you're
Yeah,
saying. Yeah.
absolutely.
Now, one thing too is I can tell you this. I When I came to RISA, okay, so we met prior to me speaking at the Real Estate Staging Association conference in Las
Hmm.
Vegas, which happens every July in Las Vegas. I highly recommend it. Jason is always there, always a speaker. I met you prior to that. Then I went to and I spoke at the conference. We got to know each other a little bit more. And I also got to know the staging industry better by listening to your presentation and the other presentations that went on over the 2.5 days. And I have to tell you, Prior to that, I only was thinking of staging like in, New Jersey. Like you're going to sell a $500,000 house and you're going to pay a stager $3,500 to stage it. Like I had no concept of
Right.
what the industry is like at your level. And the other big aha for me was having worked so closely with designers all these years, and at that point 8 years of podcasting, I thought a designer's world was bonkers. But like you you're like, okay, it's December 1st and we have to have 20,000 square feet staged by December 25th. Like it's crazy. It's crazy. And so not only is the pace insane, but I don't even know where you spend time on the creative part to figure out what you're doing in that, because you're executing all from beginning to end in 3 freaking weeks half the time. But then, like when I just met you, you took on, what was it? Is it a 20,000 square foot warehouse? Like
24,000 square feet in Industry
24,000
City,
square foot
Brooklyn. Yeah.
warehouse that is filled with
Filled.
inventory.
Filled.
Like, and so, like, my brain is just like, this is a whole nother level of business pressure. Not only is each job under the gun and deadline driven, and I'm sure if you ever had 8 weeks to do a job, you'd feel like it was a vacation. You know what I'm saying? But then assimilating, just like in my brain, often I've thought about you. I'm like, how does it even mentally go through 24,000 square feet of inventory? What am I putting in this house? What am I putting in that house? And then the logistics to get it all there and get it all out, and it can't be ruined and it's got to be taken care of. It makes, like, I always thought, I love a designer. I respect their work, but I'm just like, girl, you have no idea what it is to have this level of complexity and pressure, right?
Yeah, thank you. Well, I mean, look, it's easy to break it down because it's not just me. I have 15 employees, right? And so
15
with
mouths
each
to
of
feed.
those 15, 50, yeah. And so for it's like, okay, logistics. So like, okay, Walker's got this, and we know to anticipate these things, and there may be this problem, and we know that if because our warehouse is in like South Brooklyn, we know that if we're doing a project on the Upper East Side, if we're doing something in like a Fifth Avenue or Park Avenue building, it takes almost 20 minutes to get the furniture, just one dolly of furniture from the street to the
The
apartment. And
freight
so we
elevator,
okay,
yeah.
so we're gonna start there at 8 a.m. because we'll unload the truck on the street. They won't even allow you in the building till 9 a.m. So we have to pack up at 3 o'clock the day
I know.
before. And so you learn it's like any other performance, right? Like
Yeah.
if you're acting or you have a dance, or you learn like the synchronicity, and there's cues and you have to hit your mark. And so
Yeah.
it is tough. I mean, sometimes someone's like, wow, you got a like a look on your face, and I'm like,
You
yeah.
think?
Like
You think?
I'm doing a
$75 million
I'm
apartment's
I'm
got to
doing
be
I'm doing
staged in
I'm
three
doing I
days.
like I just did the apartment in a Rosario Candela building, 1040 Fifth Avenue. It's the apartment above Jackie O's historic New York City
Whoa.
apartment, and it took about 20 minutes for that. And so we had like a week, which was a really long time, and that's
Yes.
5,000 square feet, but there were a lot of nuances, and there's a lot of. And so um we just we get the pacing, and there's this way, like, the team starts in one bedroom, this comes off the truck first, and it's all systems and process, but it took me a really long time to figure it out. And so it's not to go back to the inventory and where do I start. And so Walker and the team, like, they built out an Airtable database. And so I'm starting, like, I might start. Sometimes I have a piece of art that I love, and I'm like, I'm gonna build the room out around this piece of art, and it's like, okay, and then it's the room is 15 other items. So I have the art, that's one. That's four. Okay, now I'm down to, it's like the rug. Okay, and so it just all of a sudden starts to get easier as opposed to overwhelming. And this is like how I'm training someone new, right? It's like, don't get
Yeah.
too over, like, take a deep breath. Like, we've got one thing, we've got this more to go. This is here. Okay, we got the couch. Like, these are the big pieces. Now let's get into the nuances. And so there's that. And then it's, I have a team of designers like Ty and Megan and Sarah, like, they're working on. We're dividing up projects. We just did this incredible house in Brooklyn on Henry Street for Ekstrom, and General Assembly did the construction. And so we walked the house. I got there, and I typically like I focus on certain spaces. Usually, like I like to do the living room, the entry, the like the big sort of like the big
The money
moments.
shots, right?
But
Yeah.
it's funny. I bought this piece of art a year ago from an artist at a exhibition, and it's this beautiful silk tapestry. It's like really sort of modernist and a little out there. And I've been wanting to do something based just on this. And so I went into the secondary bedrooms. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna do a really beautiful, like sort of older kids guest room just based on this piece of art. And so I already knew like the paint color and everything else. And so it does get very easy. And I know what my workflow looks like for
Mm,
anywhere between 2 to 4 weeks out. And so
mm.
I am really regimented. I will go into a project with the tape measure, with the floor plan. I've got my hotspot ready, and I will sit there. And for the most part, I will design the rooms in the space on site while I'm there because, okay, does this wall work? Does this? So I try to be quick and decisive, and then I'll edit from there and I'll work on it
Yeah.
and I may finesse something, but I know like I have an hour, I have 2 hours,
Yeah, this is not like, weeks of like pondering and searching,
but
online for the
yeah.
perfect thing.
The other part though that helps inform me and that, anyone else can utilize this for their work is, I have this sales history for the building. I can look up every apartment that's sold in the last almost 20 years now.
Oh,
So
wow.
before I've designed it, I'll sit there and I just go through the building and I look at like what works, what doesn't work, what
Um,
um I'll know from the exposure on the floor plan what the sunlight is going to be like. And okay, the paint is going to be a higher gloss. We're in this jewel box. And
mm,
it just gets easier the more homework you do,
mm,
sort of like leading up to that moment. Because often by the times I get there, I already have some of it mapped out.
mm.
And then I can just start to fill in the blanks. But that, again, it's like I'm just conditioned to like, okay, I've got this amount of time and it's got to be ready.
Let's
And,
put snakes on. Let's go.
we're
The race
not,
has begun.
the work that I'm doing is sort of like the antithesis of what if someone like Google's like, what does home staging look like? This is not
Yes.
all white. It's not just amorphous furniture.
No.
I'm trying to dig into the details, the architecture, the history, the provenance, and like really create something like that. One of the family members for this 1040 Fifth Avenue apartment came, and it was funny. I had said to her, so what was it like to come in and, see it? And
Completely different.
and she said, well, since you're asking me, she's like, I'm going to tell you. She's like, I walked in here, you guys had just arrived a few days before, and she said, I just started crying. She said, it just was like, it was so awkward, and there's all this stuff here, and I don't know anything. And, I grew up here. My family's had this home
Oh,
for 50 years.
wow.
And she said, and we've been emailing quite a bit, and we've had some contact, and it's very rare that sellers get that involved with stuff. A lot of them aren't even here. Um, but so she came to the photo shoot. We were shooting, and she said, I have to tell it like it, I came back and I was like, wow, this is like unbelievably impressive. The nuances and the
Stunning.
details, and just like she went into all these little things, and she had questioned a few things early on. She was unsure of like, you're painting this room really dark. That's kind of odd. And I had setting plaster on the paint plan, and she's like, what is setting? And I was like, well, that's a color, and that, and so but she said, it was really nerve wracking, but she's like, it's contemporary, but it's traditional. She's like,
Mm,
she's like, I can tell how much thought and time you have put into, you know, in some spaces we're removing what they've done,
yeah.
but in this one in particular, we're really just sort of working with it, embracing it. Like there were some things at the very beginning, there was this discussion to remove this wallpaper. It's dated. Do we remove this? And it wasn't dated. It was classic. But
Mm.
the way the room looked empty, you could tell that it was just maybe a little bit overly traditional. But once we brought in a few modern pieces and
Uh,
played
the,
around with
the
it,
mixture brought it back to
it was
life.
perfect. And I don't like removing things or creating garbage just for the sake of like rip it all out.
Yes. Yeah.
Whereas
My stamp on it.
yeah, it's not about my stamp. It's often like how do we make this work and how do like I've come to understand that within design in my work, um, it's not just about like what I like. It's not what I think is great. It's often looking at something and saying, I would never put this in my home. Like, but I get it. I see the
It
craftsmanship.
fits here.
I
Yeah.
see why someone chose this. Like this maybe sort of diffused a little bit, and this may
Mm.
be sort of like if we tweak this little thing, this is really something special. And that to me is like a growth thing where you're learning like it's not just about you and your ego and what you want. It's about saying like no, these things exist.
Yeah.
You flip through whether it's like AD or like HGTV magazine, whatever it is, there's so many different aesthetics, there's so many
Yes.
styles. And I think, someone who loves design has to learn to embrace all of these different styles and figure out what works and what doesn't work and how to translate it for the client without it being like, well, I don't like this. Like
Right.
sometimes my team will say like, oh, I don't like that piece of furniture. I don't like this and I don't like that. I'm like, I don't like it either,
You're
but
not living there, pal.
yeah, but it like, and again, because I'm sourcing all of my inventory, I'm like, I may not like this for myself, but this is a beautiful piece of furniture. This is
Yes.
a classic silhouette. This piece can translate from, sort of like these upper Fifth Avenue apartments
Exactly. You're
to
dealing with
beds
these
like,
majestic places,
but also
right?
like this thing, this object can go here and there
Mm.
and look equally as
Yeah.
compelling and interesting. And that's what I'm looking for. And that's what I've come to appreciate is like this can be worked in a multitude of
Yeah.
places.
Well, that's the artist, right? That's the artist. That's where you have that aesthetic because I mean, I can't tell you the number of times that I've been in any environment, whatever it is, a commercial, hotel, boutique, restaurant, whatever, and you look at any one item and you're just like, what the actual, who would pick that? But then you take a step back and you're just like, oh, look at how it swims in and out of this space. It actually makes sense. And it's that is respecting that artistic talent. I think it's like you have to yourself, to your point, I mean, take out like, would I individually put this in my house? No. But it if it's one of those majestic mansions on Fifth Avenue, it fits. If it's an apartment in Brooklyn that's industrial, whatever, it gives it a different vibe. That same antique-ish type of piece or whatever the crazy thing is, it's that's why you're the professional. You
Yeah.
can see the mix and match of
Embrace
it.
the hideous. But I
Embrace
do
it.
it's fun for me because I do get to salvage a lot of those
Oh,
things now. A
yeah.
lot of the stuff people don't want or are going to throw out are those old outdated light fixtures. Like I love a lot of them and give
Yeah.
them new purpose and figure it
Yeah.
out.
How often are you, I don't know that I've ever asked you this before. How often, like in these big New York City apartments, like tons of square feet and all the things, how often are you like, is it generally 50% of their personal furniture and belonging is staying and 50% you're putting into
It's
storage, or 80%?
typically nothing. It's
No, oh, you're moving it all out. Get it all out.
the I would say 95% of our work is we walk into a blank slate.
Okay, and so you're working
There
out with with the realtor or whoever's hiring you, take their stuff out. Take
Yeah,
just go
most
put
of
it in
them have already
storage.
moved out and moved on,
Okay,
moved into something new, moved cross country, have passed away.
okay.
There are a few projects um, that one in particular, I did the estate of one of the last surviving members of the Romanov family,
Right.
1136 Fifth Avenue. This is like 2.5 years ago. It's Alexander or Nikolai Romanov. He and his wife bought this stunning architect's duplex in 1972.
Oh my god.
Uh, and Mimi, she passed away about 8 months before we started. And so this duplex, like Italian palazzo apartment on Central Park, was you could barely walk through the apartment, and I will tell
Because
you,
so many of their belongings were still there, you
yes,
mean?
and there
Oh.
is nothing better than a rich hoarder. Like, if you've ever like
You're
if
like,
you've
"I'll
ever
take
seen
this for my
hoarders and you thought like,
inventory."
oh, who could live like that? There needs to be a niche show of rich hoarders because it is fabulous. You're
Yeah, it's
like,
crowns
there's
and
oil.
jewels,
I mean, that she was well. So here's the thing,
her
she was
tiaras.
she was a princess from Palermo, and he's like the nephew or grandson of like the last czar of Russia. And so there was a book that I found in the apartment that was on the castle that she grew up in, and I started looking through it, and there were several pieces of furniture in the house that were brought over in the 70s from Italy,
Wow.
from the castle she grew up in. And so, I'm like, I've got mink stoles on, it's like they were like, knock your socks off. Like, just you can. And that was part of the discussion, is we wanted to respect like the
Yeah,
things that they collected in the family. And obviously, like, I can't replicate some of those things. So
right,
this was very interesting. There were some Russian artifacts and antiquities that were like taken out of the apartment. They were like, don't post a picture, don't like. And so what I learned, we're sidetracking here, but the Russians are very different from Americans, where like we have the estate of, at Sotheby's and we're showing it. With Russians, they're like, don't show a damn thing. Like, we don't want
right.
anyone
Don't tell
knowing,
anybody we have this. We're not telling you how we got
got
it.
it, or where it came from.
That's it.
And they don't want anything published. It's all very
No
discreet.
tracing it back to
Yeah.
us. We'll just keep it for
So they
ourselves. Thank you.
they took out like all of the Russian antiquities, and then some of the family members wanted a few things, and then they said, you can sort of, we're coming on market in the spring. It's December, so knock your socks off, figure out what you want to work with, and then the rest will just be cleared out and will go to auction. And so that was a really fun project. And in the start of my career, I had other versions of that, and it was
Uh-huh.
great because I didn't have an inventory. It's like,
Yeah, you're like, yeah, I'll
perfect,
take
yeah, this is like, oh, I would
it.
love to do this. But that's where also I really started to learn and understand about traditional design and antiques in a way greater than like
Yeah,
me going to Brimfield, right? And was taking things that were contemporary that I had to buy, from the store, that were deliverable in 2 weeks, but that also look really good
yeah,
with these pieces. And so I would just sit there, for hours a day, just combining pieces and moving them around and just seeing what worked. And I'd photograph them with my phone. And it was like, by the time we were finished, like, it was just so easy to like the final imagery and photography and everything
yeah.
else, because it had just been practiced for so long.
Mm. And
But
and that reminds me of another thing that came up when we were doing our year of coaching together is you are not a stager that does occupied staging. You we had that one
so,
situation with
feel
the
my
one time.
PTSD is kicking in.
Yes. And so for designers and stagers
For legal
listening,
purposes, we will not.
yes. But I mean, that's also a distinction because there are many stagers that do occupied
Yeah.
staging, but you have decided that, in the rarest of cases going forward with strict boundaries around it, we know exactly when you will and when you will not do occupied staging because what happens is you're mixing this bag. Like this is what I learned working with you closely. You are under an insane timeline. Like listen to me. An interior designer can have a timeline. Oh, our reveal day is, Saturday, May 10th. Okay, great. But if you don't meet May 10th and you show up May 11th, like the world isn't ending. Like, yes, it's an uncomfortable conversation and people are not happy. But if a thing is getting staged and it's getting listed, every day is a dollar not earned by somebody in that equation. And for what you're charging, they're not like, oh, don't worry about it, Jason. A couple days late is no problem. Right. So, but the thing is, what we found was that occupied staging is a whole nother beast.
Whole other beast, yeah.
And especially at the level you do it, because you're dealing with the ultra one percenters of our economy, and they want what they want when they want it and how they want it. And having a debate over I don't think that light looks good in the foyer. You're just like, what are you doing? This
Yeah.
is not your house anymore. Get out.
So that, yeah, I mean
And that was hard, right?
that was very hard. Spent quite a bit of time in coaching and therapy talking about it. Um, but that it is it's very challenging because again, we're not just being called in, and that one in particular, it wasn't just like, can you get this ready for market? It was, okay, it's been 4 years and this hasn't worked.
Yeah.
And now we're coming to
Before
like,
you got involved, the house was on the market for 4 years and hadn't sold.
and it was
Right.
like, we are desperate. We now need to sell. We're ready to do the work. And so the 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 occupied staging, it's like a crash diet and an exorcism, right? And as if you're a person who is used to service people, yes, ma'am,
Yes, ma'am.
yes, ma'am,
Yeah.
I'm not yes, ma'aming you. Like
No.
that's not why you've hired me. Like you're gonna yes, ma'am me. Like
Yeah.
that's the and I don't say that out of arrogance. I'm
I know
saying
that you
it
don't.
because it's
You
you know
hired my expertise. Stop getting
yeah,
in the
like
way of it.
this
That's really
is
what it comes down
this
to.
is what I'm great at, right? Like
Yeah.
this is my superpower. You've come to me, you've read about me, you know my work,
You've been sitting here for 4 years,
you've had
not making money
every
on this place.
opportunity to fix these problems in 4 years. And now I have 3 weeks during the holidays to do all of this at a
Yeah.
very high level during construction, family, holiday, all of these things. And so,
And I got to have therapy sessions with
yeah.
you in the middle of it because you're stressing over your bedroom dresser walked out the door. Like, what are you doing, lady?
Yeah, so it's one of those things, like, that is something that I say no to, right? Because
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not good for me mentally and
Yeah.
emotionally, and it puts my team in an awkward position. It jeopardizes other things. It also became the kind of thing that I was in that project for twice as long as I should have been, which means I'm not generating the revenue that I need to. I'm essentially the sole provider of I'm the one bringing in all the revenue.
Yeah.
So,
You're the rainmaker.
yeah, I mean, that is something that I pretty much universally will say no to.
Now, what I
I
don't
might,
know,
I'm not gonna,
you
there
never
might
know.
be
You
that
never
one.
know.
Yeah.
But you have your boundaries around it now. We
Yeah.
we walked through that. What are the conditions that I will say yes and no in? And if you meet these, fine. We're not looking for these jobs, but if you meet them and it's like you remember I said June. Remember I said June. It's going to be a different thing, but it's going to be that complete reminder of this is the parameters. But what I don't know that I ever asked you, did you from the beginning do unoccupied staging and randomly projects like that popped up, or it just never was occupied staging and then that one
No,
popped
so
up?
the entire beginning, the reason why I was so comfortable to explain the process to this person in the beginning and explain all of the problems and tell them, I want you to know how hard this is going to be. Like, I'm
Yeah,
pretty
you
sure
knew
I
it was going to
told
be
them point
emotionally hard.
blank,
Yeah.
this is like, you're inviting a stranger into your home who is going to be in everything. I'm gonna be touching everything. I'm gonna, like, your kids are here. Like, you're basically are adopting like a middle-aged man, right? That, like, I'm gonna be here that much in and seeing
All of it.
everything.
Yeah.
And I explained a lot. I'm gonna bring things into this home that you would not buy, you may not like, but that is not what we are here for.
Right.
Now, the reason I was able to do all that is the whole start and the foundation of this business was, when I was a real estate agent, I was just fixing up people's apartments to sell them. And so they were often home. The
Mm.
earliest jobs that I was getting as, like, we want to pay you to do this, were
Mm.
all in occupied, walk-up
Oh, so you
apartments.
did do that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, like family of five in an 800 square foot, two-bedroom apartment, because they're moving out to Westchester, and you're in. I used to. I mean, I remember my Saturdays, like, I was organizing people's kitchen cabinets and going through their
Yeah.
refrigerator and like, let's get rid of this. And here's our donate pile. Here's our keep pile. Like, let's get into your closet now. Going through their
Yeah.
medicine cat. I'm like, okay, you're like
Because
this.
people are going to open those things up.
Yeah,
Like,
this
you know what I
expired
mean?
4 years ago. Like, it's time to say goodbye to it. And so I learned all of that very early on. That was what the business really was before, I would say in like 2016, things started to shift a bit, and I was getting like real projects were starting to come my way, which back then was like a two-bedroom apartment, and that was great. And then in 20, I think it was 2017 or 2018, um, as the agent at Compass had come to me and said, "Look, I've been asked to co-list a house that's been on the market, for almost 4 years. Beautiful house in the West Village. I've now, sold three apartments that you redid. I walk this, like, I need you.
Yeah.
You were the only way we were going to sell this. Would you consider, like, the owner didn't want to pay for it. Of course, sitting
Mm.
on an $11 million house, doesn't want to pay to have it staged. Um, and so we worked out this
You
thing where
can't
like
make it
I
up.
was the co-listing agent, so I'd have the cachet of, listing an
Yeah.
$11 million house, and I would get paid when it closed.
Okay.
So everything was sort of upfront. Um, but that house, for whatever, I was so enamored with the detail and also the mess that was there. I just was like, you know what? I'm gonna show this entire process on Instagram, and I
Oh.
just documented every little, like, the this was a very contentious divorce. One of the people was, they uh like sort of squatted in the house, and for I think it
Oh.
was like a year, we're
Oh.
on the barricaded on the top floor, chain smoking. There's carpeting and heavy drapes, so everything,
Oh,
when you
God.
open the front door of the house, you could smell the fourth floor bedroom. But I would document the carpets being cleaned and that black soot coming out
God.
at the end.
God.
And that project really changed the trajectory of my career, because, or that, like, changed what Sage Selma is now. Um, because up until then, were smaller projects, were editing people's homes.
Mm.
But the other part of it that was really interesting is, once you get into these markets, there's only so many agents who specialize in these townhouses and who know, and they're all friends. They've all been in the industry
Yes.
forever. And so because I was the listing agent, I was there for the showings, and agent after agent would walk in and say, "Oh my God, I showed this house, this year. I showed it that year. Like, who did that? Like, what designer came in and did this house?" And I was like, "Oh, it's me." And then all of a sudden, people were
Here
like,
come the
"I need
calls.
you." And so
Yeah.
that was when I formed an LLC. I got a bank account. I think an agreement came
Grown up
shortly thereafter. Yeah, I
businessman
mean,
after that.
I'm embarrassed to admit this, especially to you, but there was a point, and there's one project in particular that's sticking out in my mind. I, this was my this was like my passion and my hobby. I didn't really have this belief that I should even be paid for the work. Like, I was just doing it, and
Oh,
like
yeah.
I felt like I had always wanted to design ever since I was a little kid, but it just was something like, little boys don't tell their mom I want to be a decorator in like 1982 in Levittown, Long Island. And um so it just was that, like, I was like, "Oh my God, I'm redoing this apartment. Like, that's all that I need. Like, I'm good." And I remember I did this studio apartment at 56 Court Street in Brooklyn Heights for a friend of a friend, who, whole series of circumstances, she thought she was going to have to sell it with her tenant in there. I went into this apartment. I've never seen something more disgusting in my entire life. The apartment had never been cleaned. The
Oh.
bathroom was covered in black mold. I mean, this
Oh.
was the most slovenly, disgusting.
Oh.
This is like why you teach your children to wash their clothes and how to use a vacuum. Like, as a parent, I'm like, "Oh, clearly their parents did not say, like, you clean your bathroom every week, and here's how." Right?
That's right.
And I
Here's the sponge.
I
Here's the
sent her
spray.
pictures, and I said, "There is no way that this apartment will sell." And the comp in the building had been on the market for over a year. And I
Oh,
remember having
God
this
bless
really
you.
hard talk with her. She's expecting her second kid, moved out of the city. Her and her husband both make like nominal salaries, like the 2,500 or $3,000 a month she's gonna have to pay in maintenance. She's like, I can't afford that. And I said, look,
Was
get
she the one that left the apartment and had
it
it in
was
that
her.
condition?
No, no, no. It was
Oh,
like her
oh,
post-college apartment. She bought it
okay.
for a song. She lived there for
Okay. And then she'd
years.
been renting it
She
out,
rented
you mean?
to, yeah, to a
Oh,
tenant.
gotcha. Gotcha, gotcha,
And
gotcha.
so I said, look, give me 2 weeks and like, how about $5,000? I will get it painted, furnished. Like, here's the pictures. There is no way,
Yeah, this is
especially since the last comp in the building that was empty took, I
without
think it was
mold.
without mold, without a smell that, I mean, like when I think of
Uh,
this apartment, I can
you could
still,
smell it.
oh, and I still have the before photos. It's one of those like I use it in case study still. But she said to me, she's like, I can't afford. And so I like, how about just pay me after once you've closed and
Sold
you
it.
have the money. And so it was really, I redid the apartment. It sold for, we got somewhere close to like 30 offers, and it sold for like 125,000 over ask in a week.
Whoa.
And
In
I
a week.
and I remember she called me, and Moira had said to me, she's like, I don't really have to worry about like paying for my child's school now. She's like,
Oh,
she's like, you don't understand how, she's like, in our heads, we're looking at the sixth floor apartment that took over a year to sell. It was like, I think it was like $330,000 or something. Her apartment sold for a half a million. And it was just the most wonderful. She was so appreciative. This is a friend of a friend, and
mm,
I didn't charge her until like a year later. I was like, oh, Moira, I
you
totally
never paid
forgot. Like
me.
but it wasn't her. I didn't
How did
send.
she forget? She made all that money and was so appreciative. I would have been the first thing I wanted to do is not only pay you, but I said five, here's 10 because you made me 100 over.
It's my brain never went there. And
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's like also, look, she's busy. She's got two kids, a husband,
Yeah,
a job.
yeah,
So I never went there, but it was something in the early days. Like that wasn't an isolated incident because I just didn't think like this is something someone should like. I'm getting to do what I want,
yeah,
and
yeah,
like
yeah,
I've got
yeah.
all this control and I'm doing it. Um, Now I'm like, I don't touch a thing until like if that agreement's not signed and the payment hasn't hit our account, like not even taking your phone call.
That's it. Well, I mean, and I think it's funny because I spoke a little bit about, Corey's conversation. Hey, it was a similar story, right? He told us the similar things. It's like there were things that you do, versions that you still do to keep all the mouths fed and the lights on. But you also know that line now, right? Like,
Yes.
you know what I'm saying? And we all have those stories. And that's what I appreciate about you is that you're at the top of your game and you don't ever forget those hungry years and not even just
Yeah,
hungry
they were
years. You're
last week.
well,
Like,
no, not. But like it's funny because it's not just hungry years. You're willing to open up and show the vulnerable years where, like I didn't know I was worth this. I didn't know I should charge for that. I was having a good time. I was enjoying what I was doing. I was getting fulfilled and I was selling the apartment or whatever was happening. So I think it's very important that people that reach the level that you do when you share it with us because everybody like I talk to so many designers and they're like oh that person they must have just been lucky and I'm like actually I've talked to that person that wasn't luck that was hard work and hard lessons and falling on your knees and getting punched in the stomach and then standing up and deciding what are the never agains and what are the ones where to your point you're a human if I can help you I'm in a position the timing is right that's always at our disposal right no matter how
yeah.
successful we get.
Now I always talk about how, because it does, again, someone can look at an Instagram or say, oh, I read this
Yeah.
article on you, and you just make all of these associations. And I know because
Yes.
I've done it, right? Like,
Yes.
and it's not always real. And that is something why when I do teach or talk with people, it's like, stop comparing yourself. Stop
Yes.
looking at what someone else has or did. You have no idea what's behind it. And I remember it finally helped me because I would often get jealous of competition or whether it was dating or whatever it was. And it was always like, but they have, and it's like, well, they're this, this person, like their parents started their business. Like I didn't have that as an
Yes.
option. I got a job at 14 and have worked ever since. And so I'm here now because it's
Mm-hmm.
been decades of
Yes.
building and
An
saying like,
overnight success over
yes.
30
And
years.
like I said earlier, like the last time I wore a headset like this was working the drive-through at the East Meadow McDonald's in, 1992, and I'm still very proud of that. Like I
Yeah.
still have my McDonald's jersey, and my name tag sits in a
Yeah.
little dish on
Oh
my
my
like my
God.
entry table. Like I know where all of
You're
this
connected to the hard
started.
work that you
Yeah, and
put
I
in.
I
Yeah.
don't take it for granted, and I try, and it is funny. It's something I look at every day. It's like where my keys are, right?
Mm.
And I like having that understanding of like you've come really far,
Yeah.
and there's still a ways to go.
Yeah. That's a
Um,
great mechanism, Jason, to have there to, for both sides of it. I love the side of it like, it wasn't always like this. You know what I mean? Like and I what I can see in looking at that name tag every day is the days that it's hard. It that name tag says you've done hard before, you can do it. And the days that you feel like you're on top of the world, it's like, and by the way, you work to be here. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like you've earned it.
a
It's not
thousand
been
percent.
handed to you.
Yeah.
I love that. Um there's two things I want to cover before I let you go. They don't have to be long and drawn out.
All right.
But
Damn
the
it.
one
I
I
like them.
know we could actually do this for 90
It's
hours.
kind of
I'm,
my
I'm
thing.
like sitting here going, well, is this going to be a two-parter? You go another 45 minutes, it'll be two shows. um, but there's two things. Number one, I don't know what parts of what's on the future for you are public and what are not. So I don't
Sure.
want to so my thing is I know you have some exciting, fun things that have recently happened in your career that are staging to happen in your career. And because I can't in my head remember which is don't say anything yet, Lou, and which is public, I don't want to say. So whatever is happened recently in your career, I know big things have happened in the last 6, 8 months, and whatever's shaping up. Whatever you want to share, I want to give you your chance
Sure.
to share it
Well,
because
I'm
I don't
very
want to
excited.
mess it
I,
up.
I have signed with a book agent, which is very
So I was
exciting.
wondering if that happened, if you
Yes.
could tell about it. Okay.
So I've signed with a book agent. I was talking with several people, and it's something I've really thought about and have been setting up for a long time. It's why I
Mm-hmm.
do the photography that I do. I use Instagram as like a sort of a preparation tool for writing and cataloging what I'm writing and seeing what resonates. And so it is interesting. I will say there are two people in the design world that I've often said, like, God, I wish like I need to find their team, and I don't know why I didn't like really research it, but I've always been like, God, like if I could just figure out like who's the team behind these two people. And so um with the book agent, it turns out she is the agent of one of the two people, and she came to me after reading the New Yorker profile, and so
Oh.
that's really exciting. And then the other, which I mean, like, I don't think there's some talk with the TV production team. I don't know. Who knows where it'll
Yes,
go,
that
but
you never
we're
know how that goes.
we're
It's true.
talking. We've recorded some stuff. We're working on maybe a proof of concept, and yeah, I'm just trying to see where it goes.
Yeah.
I don't, I'm not trying to go too far out of what I'm doing. All the
Mm.
stuff that I'm doing and I'm interested in really goes back to the staging business, the warehouse, the projects we're in. I'm not, I am trying to diversify some things
Mm-hmm.
to have more coming in and just different. Um, but I've seen a lot of people get successful in one thing and then sort of like put that thing on the back burner
Mm-hmm.
and go for all of these other things, and then it falls apart. And I'm not
Yeah.
interested. Like I love the work like deeply, and I'm constantly
Yeah.
figuring out like how do I make more time so that I could be designing and taking on more projects
Yeah.
and learning. And so yeah, I'm trying to like manage less and
Yeah.
design more, which is a struggle. A lot of designers I meet who start to grow firm, that is often like their number one struggle
Yeah.
is
It's
like
like
I
I'm
got
not
into this
I'm
business to
working now and I'm not
design, and
designing anymore, right?
that's when
Yeah.
I'm happiest. Like I came home the other night, I had work late, I had an event, I got home at like 10:30. I took a hot shower, got into my pajamas, and I got on my laptop and I started designing. And I was like, my eyes were getting, but I was like, I don't want to stop. Like, I'm gonna finish this room. Like, and I was like, girl, go to bed. But I was like, no, I'm like, go to the bedroom. Okay, start to design in the bedroom. So that's the like. Yeah, that's the struggle. But anyhow, those are the two things that are brewing that I'm trying to figure
That's
out.
good. I
And
wasn't sure if we could talk about those. So
yeah,
I'm
no,
happy about that.
why
And
not? Yeah.
well, because sometimes it's
Yes.
like the deal
Sometimes
isn't
you
inked or
can't.
whatever you
Yeah,
have
I'm
about,
not
right?
there yet. So
Yeah. Okay.
it's all
But
out
the thing
there.
about that is, what I'm going to tell you about that. You know what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you, make sure your team behind you is ready for you to step out for 2 days, 2 weeks at a time while you are working on the book, or if the TV program comes along, because that's what happens. It's
Yep.
like, it, you, I have met designers that have done it both ways, where the design business has literally dried up, no income when they come back to it after the book or after the show, and designers that have maintained both. And it really is like the eyeballs behind you and around you. They
Yep.
have to be at your level, and they have to be committed, and they have to have you have to run your ship type, which I know you do. So I love it, but it's just one more pressure, actually
Yep.
two more pressures.
It's fine.
So it's fine. You're built for it. It'll be fine. The other thing I want to talk about is, I'm not going to be at RISA this summer in July, out at the what is it, the M Resort in Las Vegas.
The M Resort.
Beautiful Yep, beautiful hotel. But you're going to be speaking again, and just tell us what do you have the topic that you're going to be speaking on, and
I
so if anybody's
do.
interested
I'm
in
I'm
going.
actually gonna do a topic on design. I've
Ah,
talked often about building the
you always
business,
do the
growing the
business.
business
Yeah.
side. But a lot of people have come and said, like, how do you do all that? Like, how have you figured this
Yeah.
out and where do you get the stuff? And so we're gonna do a design specific topic
Perfect.
of like how to find your style and recreate it and put it out there.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's sort
Okay.
of,
I
I
mean,
mean, that has been a mission for me within the staging industry is like getting it to move past where that sort of older perception was of just, you Google and you come up with this art, strip everything out, paint it white,
yeah. Yeah.
depersonalize, blah, blah, yada, yada, yada,
Right.
like
Put white sofas and white rugs
nothing
and
on
gray
nothing on
pillows.
nothing, and like just a big bowl of nothing. And like I've always done the antithesis, and so
Yeah.
that's what I want to like talk with everyone about of like to go back to your markets and start to create these like really compelling spaces.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you the little bit that I know, having gone to the conference 2 years in a row and getting to know, the couple of dozen stagers that I've had the privilege of having nice long conversations with over the conference. They're like, just objectively, when you say that, there's a niche there. I don't care if your niche is the $3,500 stage, or if it's the $250,000 stage or $1 million stage. Like, you're right. Like, most people, when they think of staging, they think of stripping it down and making it so neutral that you couldn't object to it. And when I even think about, like, at RISA, I've met men and women who are stagers that are one man and one women shows in, Podunk, Iowa, and, doing beautiful work. But there is, I think you're right, Jason, an opportunity for every level stager to put that unique mark on it, right? Like, and
Yes.
I love what you said. You're looking at the 20-year history of a building. What's actually happening in this building? What is the vibe? Who are the people that buy in this building, that live in this building? Well, people can do the same thing. What are we stripping a house up and making it all white, and white drapes and white sofas and gray pillows, if nobody in the neighborhood lives like that?
Right.
like what is that about, right? And so I think that it'll be really great for them to hear your perspective on that. And probably the smart ones will get pushed out of their box a little
Yeah.
and think about how they can look a little different. And then the other thing that I want to say is, I genuinely, I can't say that there is I think if any interior designer were thinking about going into staging, definitely have to go to RISA. Like, that's a non-negotiable in my
Yeah.
mind. It is
Yep.
such a different animal. It's like, I cook Italian food and I'm the best Italian cook ever, and now I think I'm going to cook Asian food. It's like, well, you got some skills and you can use the knife and you know how to do things,
Right.
but it's different,
It's very
right?
different.
It's very different. And so I think you can transfer, but what I love about RISA is it teaches you the business side, the side that is different from a money making side of it. And also, like your presentation that I saw the first year I was there just blew my mind.
Thank
Like it
you.
was, yeah. And you remember what I said? It was so funny because I have my 10 things that all successful CEOs do.
Yep.
And I was so glad that like I did mine, like what happened was I think you did yours first. You were on,
Yes.
and then I was on the next day. And I was just like, that's one of them. That's one of them. That's one of them. That's one of them. And I was like, okay, well, I don't actually have to do my thing today, because Jason did it. And the thing was, what you did was you took the idea of like number one and number two and number three, but put it in the tangible of the way you do your business. And I don't know if I hadn't told the audience, think about Jason's presentation and the things he taught you, then line it up to this one.
Yeah.
I think that's the disconnect in a business owner. They hear you saying what you do, but like my thing is I take what you do and what Corey does and what Kate O'Hara does and what this one does and what this one does. And I'm like, what's the through line that's the same, even though it feels different?
Right.
And that's how I came up with my 10. It's like over all of these things, all of my own experience. And it was like, it was just such, it was the case study for the thing. And
Right.
I just thought it was so
Yeah.
good what you
Thank you.
did. And
Thank you.
it really showed a thoughtful reflection on what your success is based on. That's what it was. You're like, you want to know how I built this thing? Here is the
Hard
playbook.
work. No, but it was, I mean, that was something I learned early on. And so when I created Stage Sell Home, this was just a marketing pamphlet that I made as a young real estate agent who had no book of business, no referral sources. And it was, someone taught me early on, like, you have to like create your niche, right? And so like that design was always what I love. Fixing places up is what I love, DIY. And so I made these checklists, and it was like this 30-point checklist of like, preparing to list, your first open house, something about like the marketing. And I remember someone said to me, like, why are you sharing all your secrets? Like, why are you telling them? And I was like, look, no, no, none of this is a secret, right? Like, clean your apartment. Like, maybe I get very specific, but like, that's not a secret. It's just I've put it together into a checklist. And I said, look, at the end of the day, 90% of the people are not going to do this. And
Right.
that's when I can say to them, I sent you this. How does it go? How did you? Okay. Would you like to hire me to oversee and handle
Now I'll do
all
it
of
for you.
this?
Yeah.
And it's the same sort of concept there. It's like I'm not I have no I love that we all work in these industries and within communities where like people can talk about what makes
Yeah.
them successful, what works for them, and give specific examples. And that's the difference between like the keynote address, right? Where it's like
Right.
broad reaching versus
Right.
like here's the
In the
strategies and like
weeds.
here's the very specific things that have worked for me. And then,
Hmm.
I've had a lot of discussions with business owners who are like, oh, it's so much. And it's like, this is what you have to do. And this is the thing when you're saying, like, but they have this and they look like that. And well, that's because I'm up most nights till 11 or 12 o'clock doing this. That's because on Sunday, instead of doing this, I'm doing that. And
Right.
that's when sometimes you need to say, some business owners, do I really want to do all this?
Right. You don't
Right?
have the answer doesn't have to be I do,
Like
right?
I've told a lot of
Yeah.
people, look, there's nothing wrong with maybe realizing you want to go work for someone and
Because we
do.
all need really good, hard,
Right.
talented
Like
workers,
if
right?
you don't want to be the marketing team and the PR team and the bookkeeper and logistics and like you just want to go design apartments, like you may not want to have your own business and be a solopreneur. Like
Right.
you may want to find that person who you have a great rapport with, go work for them and say,
Yeah.
this is my superpower. I will come in and do this. You can run the business and do that. I will
That's
help
right.
find this person and let's be great at this instead of trying to do everything and then wondering why it's not working. It's a very tough conversation to have with
Yes.
people because you do get that sort of like, oh, maybe I'm
Yeah.
doing the wrong thing, and it's like
Yeah.
maybe you are, and like
Maybe you are, but
there's
you know
no
what? Why
shame in
struggle
it.
through it?
Like
Yeah.
maybe now is the time to really think about what you want to be content.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny because there's a gentleman that we know him very well. I have so much respect for him. He's in the window treatment industry. He was on my other podcast, Window Treatments for Profit. His name is Richard Bernath, and he owned his own window treatment company, and he had a partner. And, it was the type of thing where his skill set is people skills and sales and design and being in the house. And, you think you want two pairs of drapes, but you need two pairs of drapes, a Roman shade, and a cornice because that's really what you need or want. And he's just so talented at it. And what happened was, there came a point where the partnership split up. I don't recall why, but it did. And then he continued on running the business. And so astutely and so without ego, whether however long it took, he was like, you know what? I don't like doing all the other 80%. I like, let's get the lead in the door and I'll go sell the lead. I'll go into the house and I'll do. And he also drums up his own business. He doesn't have any problem drumming up his own business. But what he didn't like was, let me sit down and figure out the payroll taxes and let me figure out where we're going to do this marketing thing and let me figure out how to hire an installer and are we going to lease a truck. And so after X a period of time, he said, you know what? And he went to another business owner and he was like, I am a $1 million salesperson. This is going back 10 and 15 years ago when selling a million was selling a lot. And he's like, I will create my own book of business. I will sell my own book of business. Just somebody else do all the stuff behind me. Just make, when I sell it, you make me look good by ordering it, delivering it, installing it, mitigating the things. And it's not like he walks away from his client. He runs the client through the whole
Yeah,
client journey.
but he
But
knows what he's great
yeah,
at. Yeah,
what do I want to sit here and figure out taxes on April 15th for? I
I'm
don't.
with him.
Right? Oh my goodness. So anyway, I will put the link in the show notes to the RisaCon conference that's happening in July. The cool thing about RisaCon conference for everybody that is a designer and listening is it runs like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then Vegas market starts Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So you can bank them if you've always said, I kind of want to go to Vegas market too. Maybe this is a twofer for you. You also might meet stagers in your community that you can refer people back and forth to. And I have to say, this conference reminded me of the IDS conferences. I love IDS national conferences because when you walk in, you feel like you're coming to see your friends. It's a conference with 300 or 400 people at it, and you don't feel like I'm in a ball. And even when I didn't know anybody, I didn't feel like I'm in a ballroom and I don't know anybody and who am I going to talk to. It's a very, very welcoming, down to earth group of people. And then we've got, the rock stars like you and Cheryl there that you still get your eye candy and like, oh my God, he's here. Oh my God, she's here.
Cheryl's the eye candy. She's the gorgeous knockout blonde.
She's
I
all the
usually
whole deal.
I usually look like a pissed off cab driver. That's
Oh,
like my.
please. You're ridiculous. Oh, well, I will miss you guys this year. I know you'll have a great time. You tell all our friends I said hello.
Will
And
do. We'll see you
this was
another
so
time.
fun.
Thank
Long
you. Thank
overdue,
you.
but
I know.
fun.
I'm
Thank
like
you, Jason.
I'm honored to finally to be a guest on the place where I've learned so much. This has been like my. I feel like the podcast has been like my graduate program.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
So
yeah.
thank you.
It's funny because I just also want to say I remember in your presentation, see in my presentation, I've got like, I don't know, 6 or 7 is all of the best entrepreneurs, CEOs, most successful ones, they they really create their network. They create their network of peers and mentors, coaches, all the things, like the whole thing, vendors, trades, go-tos. And, when I talk about it, and I'm like, and that doesn't just happen by accident. Like, you've got to make it happen. You've got to show up and do your part. And that was, it was so crazy because when you talked about how you do that, and I was like sitting there going, oh my God, he did exactly that to me. Like, he did
Yeah.
exactly, and I was like, wow, and it's just, I just remember the very first time I met you, you floored me. I never met you, never heard of you, had no idea who you were. And I
I
was
mean,
doing a
people
present.
should just bring you flowers like that.
Well,
Like
that's the thing, and
it.
nobody's ever done that. It was
I don't
amazing.
like. All right, so everyone who's listening, the next time Luann is in your market and giving her, like, you you show up with like good flowers too, not
You
like
did. You
I
did.
know, no,
Yeah.
you
I
deserve like I would think you would be showered with like flowers and candles and candelabras and all sorts of like things. So if you're listening and she's in your market
uh,
and she's coming to give her
uh,
like you show up with some good shit. Yeah,
well,
like
it was interesting
you deserve
because
it. Like you
it
you
was.
teach people so much.
No, but the thing was, Jason, you know what I have to tell you that I thought was really interesting about what you did. I was at a live presentation at Cravat, and there was a lot of there's always a line and people wanting to talk to me, and I just love that. And God help me the day there's no line, I'll just crawl up in a hole and die. People are just like, oh, this must be annoying. People wanted to talk to you. I'm like, really? Is that what you think this is? No, sweetie, this is amazing, right? And so, but you just came up, looked at me, handed me these gorgeous flowers, and you were like, I just need to tell you how much you've helped my business. Like, literally, you have helped me build my business. You don't know me. I listened to your show, and I looked at you. We said 2 or 3 more words, and you're like, I'm going to let you go. And you just walked away. And I was like, well, okay. Like, all right. Well, okay.
You got a
And then
lot of people, like, you
well,
know.
that was the thing. It was just so every part about it was sincere, genuine, but also kind to me to not, know that there's a line and blah, blah, blah. And then what was funny was, and I asked you your name. I think you gave me your card and I put it on my desk because that's a differentiator, right? Like that's a moment in time. And the following February, when I got invited to speak at RISA, and then the 2 or 3 weeks later, I'm like, wait, that's that guy that gave me flowers. And then I'm like, wait, who is this guy? And then I go and I look you up and I'm like, holy crow. You're just like, thanks for the flowers. But it was like, you described it, whether you're doing that with builders or realtors or architects. It's like, take a moment to be genuine and memorable about
But
something.
also
And it,
say thank you. Like when
yeah.
people like that, I think it's just very rare that like you offer so much and so much value and you have helped. I mean, for years I was like, where do people figure this stuff out from? How do they like, and then like one day the podcast just showed up and I was like, oh my God. And then of course, like, I'm from Long Island, you're New Jersey, so it's just like the voice, I'm like, oh, I get this. Like this all connects for me. Like
Do you
this is my
remember what you
culture.
called me one time? Do you remember what you called me one time?
No, what did
You
I?
were like, she's like a mix of your favorite Anne and Judge Judy or
Oh,
something like that.
totally. That definitely sounds like something I would say.
And every time, like, I happen to come across, I'm like, all right, girl, that's it. That's who you are. Get out of my courtroom.
Oh my
But
God.
you did put your favorite Anne in there, a mix
Yes.
of your favorite
Yeah.
Anne.
It's all good. It's not a negative.
That's it. Anyway, I just appreciate you so much. And I'm so
Of course,
glad
my
that we've gotten
pleasure.
to know each other and become good friends. And I do appreciate you being here on the show
My
and sharing
pleasure.
all of your stuff. Thank you, sweetie.
Thank you.
Okay, I am so glad we finally did this, Jason. This was fun. You can hear it, right? Jason is the real deal. There was a ton of information in this conversation that I think applies to any of us, whether we're a stager, an interior designer, a window covering pro. Jason just gave us a masterclass in building a successful, sustainable business at the highest level. Let's start with what I think is probably one of the most important themes that ran through the entire conversation: understanding your value and learning when and how to communicate it. Jason talked about his early days as a real estate agent, constantly having to answer the question, why should I pay you 5% just to open the door, right? But that question forced him to get crystal clear on his value proposition. You can't just look at somebody and say, well, I'm good at what I do. No, you have to show it, you have to prove it, and like Jason does, you really should be backing it up with data. Now, what is your answer when someone questions your value? Can you articulate it clearly? Can you back it up with evidence? Jason doesn't just say his staging works and point you to pretty pictures. He shows you metrics. That's the difference between hoping someone will hire you and confidently knowing they should. And they will, right? Now, I want to talk about something Jason said that resonated with me. I spent the last 20 years, he said, I spent the last 20 years saying yes to everything so I could finally start to say no. It's important, and I think it's something you need to hear. There's this narrative out there that successful people just always knew their worth and never compromised. And it's just not reality. Jason talked openly about the projects he took for little or no money early on, like that studio apartment in Brooklyn Heights where he didn't even charge the client until a year later. We've had other big guests on the show, Mikkel Welch, Corey Damon Jenkins, say the same things, okay? But here's what I want you to understand. Jason doesn't look back on those experiences with regret. He looks at them as part of his journey. He displays that McDonald's name tag from his first job right by his keys, so he sees it every day. How much do you love that, right? That's part of his story. And every step taught him something, and every step was worth something, right? All the steps are proof of what he's capable of. His early staging jobs built his portfolio, and they eventually led to the referrals and the opportunities that changed his business. Okay. Now, I mentioned Corey Damon Jenkins, and I know it's hard to believe it now, but he's got those humbling stories too. All of us do. Seriously, take a minute after this episode and go listen to the episode with Corey Damon Jenkins and Mikkel Welch. All right. See yourself in this if you're in this stage of business. Okay. The key is knowing when you're in that phase versus when you've moved past it. Right? Because you're going to move past it. And Jason is now very clear with his boundaries. He knows when he'll negotiate and why. He'll take a lower fee if there's a value in the association, if the project will open doors to future opportunities, where in those opportunities, he's not going to have to negotiate. That's strategic decision making, not desperation, right? And he also has certain non-negotiables too. So for Jason, he's discovered that's occupied staging. This is such a perfect example of understanding what you will and not do as a business owner. Jason realized that occupied staging, especially at his level with ultra high net worth clients, was taking twice as long, creating mental and emotional stress for him and his team, and pulling him away from the revenue generating staging that moves on a dime, right? I remember this exact problem was literally one of the very first problems that we worked through in our coaching together. And through his own experience and our conversations, he came out of it with clear decisions and reasons for not taking on occupied projects going forward, right? This is key. It goes back to your mission, vision, values. When you decide in the quiet what you will do and what you will not do, then when there's pressure, it's a no-brainer. You already know. You're not tempted. Now, this does not mean occupied staging is wrong or bad or a bad business model. No, we need all of you who do occupied staging, right? It just means that Jason has decided for him, it's not what he wants to do, and it doesn't serve him best. So if you do occupied staging and you love it, yay, you. The key is deciding before the opportunity comes, not during it. So if you love working with clients that are in this transition phase, yes, show up for them and give them your services and your value. But if you have found that same stress and pressure that Jason described in these types of projects, and it takes you away from the other projects that are just happy and make it sing, and you feel like this is the way to do it, that's the call to action, to think about it now. Another major theme we touched on was the importance of systems and processes. Jason manages a 24,000 square foot warehouse and a team of 15, and projects and timelines that would make your head spin. How does he do it? Oh, it's easy. It's systems. Now, there's nothing easy about it, and there's nothing easy about committing to creating a system. But once you've done it, the system is the thing that gives the ease. All right. He talked about his team knowing exactly what comes off the truck first, how long it takes to get furniture from his warehouse to the street, and finally inside that Upper East Side apartment. He knows when to start planning, packing, all the things based on the building logistics. All of it is documented, systemized, and repeatable. That's how you scale. That's how you take on multiple high stakes projects simultaneously without everything falling apart. Right? You've heard me say it dozens of times over the years. If you don't have a documented, repeatable process in your business, you don't have a business, my friend. You have a you. It might be an amazing you, but it is you. Something that depends entirely on you showing up every single day is not sustainable. It's not sellable. And it can make you a living 1000%. But when you are done, it is done too. And I don't love that for you. I love you building something that you can sell personally. I was also struck by Jason's philosophy about design itself. He knows it's not about what he likes or what he would put in his own home. That level of design maturity, being able to appreciate and work with styles outside of your own personal aesthetic. This is what separates good designers and stagers from great ones. Jason's success isn't because he only stages in one style or only works with modern furniture or only does traditional. His success is because he reads a space. He understands the market that space lives in. He understands the potential buyer for that space. And then he goes to work creating something that will resonate. He's not stamping his ego on the project. He's creating an environment that will sell the property. That's his job, and he's exceptional at it. Now, let me also touch on something Jason mentioned about why he shares so much of his process, his metrics, and his strategies. He said people ask him, why are you sharing all your secrets? And his response was brilliant. 90% of the people aren't going to do it anyway. And for those that do, I'm happy about that because we all rise together. I love the abundance mindset. It's something that I see in every truly successful person I've ever met. They don't hoard information or worry about competition. They focus on their own excellence and are happy to lift others up along the way. Are you that person? I hope you are. Finally, I want to talk about something Jason shared about building his network and creating opportunities. The story told about bringing me flowers at an event years ago, that wasn't manipulation or networking tactics. That was a genuine moment of gratitude. I could feel it in him. I could see it in his face. He just wanted to say thank you to someone who had helped him in his business. And he did it in a memorable, sincere way. So, I am not telling you to bring me flowers the next time I'm in your area. No, not at all. But what I want you to understand is this. Building a network isn't about collecting business cards or adding people on LinkedIn. It isn't about Instagram likes. It's about relationships. It's about appreciation. It's about following up and being someone others want to work with and refer. You have lots of opportunities for that, whether it's meeting editors at design events or your colleagues at design events, other podcasters in the space that you listen to that have helped you, or when you meet people like Jason in real life and you share a moment of you've inspired me. That goes a long way. Now, for any of you thinking of or heading to RisaCon this summer in Las Vegas, make sure you catch Jason's presentation. He'll be talking about design specifically this year, which is a little off for him. Usually he teaching you those hardcore business lessons. But this year he's going to be talking about how to find your style and put it out there in a way that moves your business forward. So if you've never been to RisaCon and you are a stager, I highly recommend it. It is one of the most welcoming, down-to-earth and fun conferences I have ever attended. And the staging community that Shel Broadnax and her team has created is incredibly welcoming and supportive. Now, if you're not a stager, but this piqued your interest, we we have a few other episodes on this topic. Be sure to check out episode 76 with Shauna Lynn Simon, oldie but goodie. Okay, it's about how home staging and interior design are different and the different approach from a business standpoint. Okay, another good episode is 741 with Leah Ward and how she got started in luxury staging. We will link these in the show notes. So whether you're staging a $500,000 home or $50 million apartments, the principles Jason shared today apply. Know your value. Back it up with data. Build systems that allow you to scale. Understand when to say yes and when to say no. And always keep learning and refining your craft. Now, before we wrap up, I have to thank Design Assist for sponsoring the show, and the connection here is very clear. Jason makes it crystal clear in his conversation that exceptional businesses are not built on talent alone. They're built on systems, support, and the right people in the right roles. And that's exactly how Design Assist helps you. Whether you need procurement, CAD drawings, administrative support, project coordination, Design Assist connects you with experienced remote professionals who understand the interior design industry. Every Design Assist VA either has a 4-year degree in interior design or architecture and a minimum of 4 years experience in the field. All right. So systems create freedom, and support allows you to operate at a higher level. If you want to learn more, go to designassist.com/podcast. That's DEZIGN assist.com/podcast. Jason, my friend, I'm so grateful to you. Thank you for coming on the show and sharing so openly about your journey, your challenges, and your success. I cannot wait to see what's in store for you next, my friend. I know it's going to be insane. And thank you for being with me here today, too. Decide to be excellent. Thank you for joining me today. This podcast is a production of Luann Nigara, Inc. If you want to know more about me, my books, or Luann University, go to luannnigara.com. And if you are interested in having WindowWorks help you with your next window treatment or awning project in the New York, New Jersey metro area, go to windowworksnj.com to learn more. Have an excellent day.